Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're going to take a look at the digital nomad scene in Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's a place that seems to pop up again and again when people are talking about, the best cities to work remotely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got like a really interesting mix of stuff to go through today. We have some YouTube vlogs from people who are actually, on the ground there, apartment hunting, figuring out their daily lives. And then we also have some broader articles that look at the bigger picture of what makes a city attractive to digital nomads.
Yeah.
And these sources actually span like almost a decade. They go all the way from 2016
Wow.
to 2025.
That's a pretty good range.
So we can really get a sense of like how things have changed.
Yeah. And how they've stayed the same.
Exactly. So our kind of mission today is to go beyond just the surface level appeal of Chiang Mai, because it's easy to see the beautiful pictures and think, oh, paradise.
Right.
But we want to really dig into what's it actually like to live and work there
Absolutely.
based on the real experiences of other digital nomads.
Yeah, get into the nitty gritty.
Exactly. So let's start with something that's always like a top concern when you're thinking about moving somewhere new: cost of living.
That's always the first question, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How far is your money going to go?
Exactly. And over and over again, the sources highlight that Chiang Mai is super affordable, especially compared to, Western cities.
It's amazing how often that comes up, right?
It really is.
It's clearly a huge draw.
Totally. One quote that really stuck with me was from this long-term expat they interviewed in one of the articles. They said that in Chiang Mai, you can basically live like a king.
Ooh, I like that.
Right, for what you'd pay for a tiny apartment back home.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement.
It really is. And then we get into some more, specific numbers in an article called Chiang Mai for Digital Nomads. And this was written, let's see, back in 2023. So it might be a little outdated, but, it gives us a good baseline.
Of course.
They said that at that time, you could find a simple en-suite room for about $150 USD per month.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Or if you want something a little fancier, like in the Nimman area.
It's supposed to be a really cool spot, right?
Yeah, it's like a hub for digital nomads.
Lots of cafes and stuff.
Exactly. You could get a one-bedroom apartment there for $350, $400 USD per month.
So still significantly less
Way less.
than most major cities.
For sure. And then we also have this really, really detailed budget breakdown
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
from this couple who spent 5 months in Chiang Mai between 2016 and 2017.
Okay, so a little while ago.
Yeah,
But still useful information.
totally. Yeah, so they tracked everything.
Wow, dedicated.
I know, right? And they found that on average, they were spending 949 euros per month for the two of them,
Okay.
which is 475 euros per person.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But there's a catch.
Oh,
They actually revisited their budget a few years later in 2022.
okay.
And they said that realistically, people should probably budget closer to 800 euro per person per month.
Interesting.
So it seems like maybe things got a little more expensive.
Yeah, maybe just more awareness of hidden costs or something.
Maybe. Or just, inflation.
Right, that happens everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. But still, even at 800, that's...
It's still super affordable,
Right.
especially if you're coming from North America or Europe.
Yeah, totally. So let's break down that original budget a bit more because it gives us some really good insights. So their rent was about 11,000 baht
All right.
plus 800 baht for utilities.
So pretty standard.
Yeah. And then for food, they were averaging just 90 baht per meal.
Wait, per meal?
Per meal for two people.
That's incredible.
I know, it's insane, right?
What were they eating?
Mostly street food,
Ah, that makes sense.
which, is supposed to be amazing in Chiang Mai.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, and super cheap. And then for transportation, they were using songthos.
What are those?
They're like these red shared taxis that are all over the city.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they're only 20, 40 baht per trip.
That's a steal.
I know, it's so cheap. And finally, their internet was about 750 baht for a private connection.
So all in all, a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a really budget-friendly lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But like they mentioned, individual spending can vary a lot.
Of course.
It depends on what kind of accommodation you want, whether you eat more local food or Western food, how much you drink, because alcohol can be pretty expensive there.
Good to know.
And then if you're using co-working spaces or gyms, that all adds up.
Right. It's about making choices that fit your lifestyle.
Exactly. Oh, and we saw this one YouTube video from 2017
Okay.
where this couple was searching for apartments, and their budget was like 13,000 to 20,000 baht per month.
So a bit higher.
Yeah. But they specifically mentioned that. Like, electricity and water and internet were, like, extra.
On top of the rent.
Yeah, so you got to factor that in.
Those hidden costs can really sneak up on you.
They really can. And actually, that same couple ended up getting a private internet connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the shared Wi-Fi in their building was so bad.
That makes sense.
They were like, we can't work with this.
Especially if you're, relying on the internet for your job.
Exactly.
So you can't mess around with that.
No, not at all. So yeah, it's just a reminder that sometimes, like, the cheapest option isn't always the best.
Yeah, sometimes you got to invest a little bit more for reliability.
For sure. Okay, so moving on from the money stuff, let's talk about something super important for digital nomads. Co-working spaces and Wi-Fi.
The lifeblood of the remote worker?
Literally.
Yep.
And like, our sources are all in agreement here. Chiang Mai is known for having great internet and tons of co-working spaces and cafes.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, it sounds pretty ideal. One article even describes the internet speeds as like fast to blazing fast.
I love that kind of language.
Me too.
It just gets you excited.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they also say that mobile data is pretty cheap there.
Okay. Good backup option.
Yeah, just in case. So some names that keep coming up are Yellow, Punspace, and CAMP.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, they seem to be like the popular spot.
Yeah, those are the ones you always see in the pictures.
Exactly. And then another article specifically mentions All Chiang Mai and Yellow Co-working again.
So those must be good,
Yeah, they sound like hubs.
where everyone hangs out.
Totally. Oh, and they say that download speeds in some of these cafes and co-working spaces can be over 300 millit-ps.
Whoa. That's fast.
That's like downloading a whole movie in like a minute.
Right.
Crazy.
And then is Chiang Mai still paradise? This article gives us like a whole list.
Let's hear it.
They mention Heartwork, the sharing space, One Workspace, Alt Chiang Mai again, Yellow Co-working, the Bricks Startup Space, Colab Co-working Cafe, and Starwork Chiang Mai. Wow. That's a lot of options.
I know, right?
So you're definitely not going to be short of places to work.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's cool to see how, like, this plays out in the personal stories, too.
Yeah, what about the people who are actually there?
Right. So there's one YouTube vlogger who made a video called A Month Alone. They initially tried working from cafes.
Oh, the classic digital nomad move.
Right. But they found it super distracting.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Totally.
Too much noise and stuff.
Exactly. So they ended up going to a co-working space,
Mm-hmm.
even though it cost them like $10 USD per day.
So it must have been worth it.
Yeah, they said they loved the atmosphere, like being around other people who are also working.
Yeah, that can be motivating.
Totally.
Especially if you're someone who, like, thrives in that kind of environment.
For sure. And it probably helped them be more productive, too.
Yeah, less distractions.
Exactly. So, like, even though Chiang Mai has a lot of cafes and public spaces where you could technically work for free, it seems like the co-working spaces are still a popular choice.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's about, like, that community aspect and the reliable internet, which is, like, crucial if you're working remotely.
Absolutely. Can't have your internet cutting out in the middle of a meeting.
No, for sure not. Okay, so speaking of community, that's another thing that really stands out about Chiang Mai.
The digital nomad community.
Yeah, it's like a huge part of what makes it so appealing.
So what are the sources saying about that?
Well, several of them highlight how vibrant and active it is. Like, one article even calls it Chiang Mai's greatest asset.
Wow.
Right?
That's a big statement.
It is. And they talk about how it fosters this spirit of, like, innovation and collaboration, and how people are constantly, like, forming friendships in the co-working spaces.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. And they also mentioned this event called the Nomads Summit 2025.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a big networking event.
For digital nomads from all over?
Exactly. And then Chiang Mai for digital nomads talks about how easy it is to make friends there.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, like through social events, meetups, conferences, all that stuff.
So it sounds pretty welcoming.
Yeah, especially if you're new to the whole digital nomad thing.
And maybe a little worried about feeling lonely.
Exactly. But, you know, it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
What do you mean?
Well, that same YouTube vlogger, the one who made the A Month Alone video,
Yeah.
they actually talked about feeling lonely at times.
Even with all the community around.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting, right?
It is.
Like, it shows that even in a place that's known for its community, you still have to put yourself out there.
Right. You can't just expect it to happen magically.
Exactly. But then at the same time, the vlogger also had this really cool experience.
Oh,
They randomly met someone,
okay.
and they became friends.
Nice.
Yeah. And then that friend invited them to this local WhatsApp group.
What was the group for?
It was for, like, organizing hikes and other activities.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it just goes to show that, like, you never know where you're going to find your people.
Yeah, you got to be open to new experiences.
Totally. Oh, and that couple who made the super detailed budget, they also talked about meeting tons of people,
Okay.
like both other digital nomads and just, like, travelers. And they said it led to, like, friendships and networking opportunities.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It seems like Chiang Mai is just a place where it's easy to connect with people.
Yeah, I guess when you have so many people from all over the world in one spot, you're bound to find some like-minded folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's not as fun, but super important if you're thinking about staying in Thailand for a while.
Visas.
Visas, exactly. So this is where we start to see some changes over time
Okay.
in our sources. So that YouTube video from 2017, they mentioned that it was pretty easy to get into Thailand and that a lot of places offered month-to-month leases.
So it sounds like things were a little more, like, casual back then.
Yeah, probably. But then the articles from 2024 and 2025, they talk about more, like, formal visa options.
Yeah. Okay, so things have gotten a bit more official.
Yeah. For example, there's this article called Best Cities for Digital Nomads. And it mentions that Thailand now has this thing called the Thai Long-Term Visa, which is also known as the Thailand Golden Visa.
That sounds fancy.
It does, right? And it allows people to stay in Thailand for up to 10 years.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is. But of course, there are certain criteria you have to meet.
Like what?
Well, for digital nomads, I think you have to prove that you have, like, a certain income and health insurance and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the couple who made the detailed budget, they recommend this ebook. And they specifically mentioned that it covers visa issues.
So it sounds like it's a common concern.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was even a comment on the YouTube video from 2024
Okay.
asking about how to extend a tourist visa beyond 3 months.
So that's clearly something that people are wondering about.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like, while it might have been easier to just kind of wing it in the past, nowadays, if you're planning to stay in Chiang Mai for a while, you really need to do your research and figure out the best visa option for you.
Yeah. Don't want to get caught out.
No, not at all. So healthcare.
Okay.
This isn't a huge focus in our sources, but we do get a few insights. So the couple who made the detailed budget, they listed healthcare expenses under extras.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it included things like, going to the dentist and buying antibiotics and bandages after a trip.
So basic medical stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh.
And they also mentioned that their ebook talks about health in Chiang Mai. So it's clearly something that digital nomads are thinking about.
Yeah, makes sense.
But unfortunately, we don't get a ton of detail on, like, the quality of healthcare there or how much it costs.
So that's something that people would need to research more.
Definitely.
Oh,
Especially if
okay.
you're planning a longer stay.
Yeah, healthcare is one of those things you don't want to mess around with.
No, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about something that will definitely affect your day-to-day life in Chiang Mai.
The weather.
The weather and the environment. And our sources have kind of a mixed bag of things to say about this.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Chiang Mai is located in this beautiful mountainous region, but it also has a tropical climate,
Which means?
which means it gets really hot.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Like in the YouTube video from 2017, the couple is like sweating bullets.
I can imagine.
They said the temperature was hitting like 39, 40 degrees C in the afternoon.
That's intense.
It's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's definitely not for me.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. And then on top of the heat,
Uh-oh.
there's this thing called the burning season.
What's that?
So from about February to May,
Okay.
there's a lot of agricultural burning in the region, which causes really bad air pollution.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's not good. And sometimes Chiang Mai actually has, like, the worst air quality in the world during those months.
That's scary.
It is pretty alarming. And to make matters worse, March, April, and May are also the hottest months.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, pretty much. And is Chiang Mai still paradise? This article, they echo that warning. And they say the burning season is usually between January and April.
So it's like a solid few months.
Yeah. And they recommend using an app called IQA
Okay.
to check the air quality before you go outside.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, for sure. So it seems like, if you're thinking about going to Chiang Mai, you really need to be aware of this burning season.
And avoid it if possible.
Yeah, especially if you have, like, respiratory problems.
Or if you just like to, be able to breathe fresh air.
Totally. So maybe consider going during the cooler months when the air is cleaner.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Right, let's switch gears again and talk about transportation.
How do you get around in Chiang Mai?
So our sources mention a bunch of different options
Okay.
in the YouTube video from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
The couple is just like walking around everywhere.
So it must be walkable.
Yeah, at least in certain areas. And then the couple who made the detailed budget,
Mm-hmm.
they talked about using songthaws.
Those red taxis.
Yes, exactly. And they said it's super cheap, like usually only 20-40 baht to get around the city.
That's affordable.
Super affordable. And they also mentioned ride-sharing apps.
Like Uber and stuff.
Yeah, Uber and Grab,
Mm.
which are obviously convenient,
Especially if you're going somewhere at night.
or if you have luggage.
Totally.
But it seems like the most popular option is renting a scooter.
Oh, yeah. I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, it's like the classic Chiang Mai thing. So
Yeah.
in Digital Nomads in Chiang Mai, our reviews,
Mm.
they estimated that it costs around 90 euros per month, plus gas.
Okay, it's not too bad.
No. And then, is Chiang Mai still paradise?
Yeah.
They also mentioned scooters, and they say that you can rent them for like 200 baht per day.
So even cheaper if you don't need it all the time.
Exactly. But they do emphasize that you need an international driver's license,
Oh, right.
and you have to wear a helmet.
Safety first.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And then Chiang Mai for digital nomads. They talk about how easy it is to get to all the beautiful nature spots around Chiang Mai by scooter.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it does. And they recommend taking a safety riding course.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, especially if you're not used to driving a scooter. And they also mention that you can hire a car and driver.
Okay, so there's an option for people who aren't comfortable on two wheels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like there are transportation options for everyone in Chiang Mai,
Nice.
whether you're on a budget or not, and whether you like to walk, ride a scooter, or take a taxi.
Sounds convenient.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this next topic is something that, like, everyone struggles with.
Work-life balance.
Work-life balance, exactly.
A constant battle.
It really is. And our sources offer some interesting perspectives on this. So, Chiang Mai, 7 unexpected reasons. This article suggests that Chiang Mai naturally lends itself to a good work-life balance
Okay.
because it has opportunities for both productivity and relaxation. They mention things like Thai massage
Oh, I love Thai massage.
and nightlife.
So you can work hard and then play hard.
Exactly. But the YouTube blogger from the A Month Alone
Mm-hmm.
video,
Mm-hmm.
they have a different take. They actually talk about how important it is to set boundaries when you're working independently.
Yeah. It's easy to get sucked in
Totally.
when you don't have, like, a set work schedule.
Right. And they said that even in a place as amazing as Chiang Mai, they still experienced burnout.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because they weren't separating work from their personal life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's easy to just keep working when you're in a new and exciting environment.
Totally.
And then the couple who made the detailed budget,
Mm-hmm.
they also talked about this. They said that they were working really long hours,
Like how long?
like 10, 14 hours a day.
Whoa. That's a lot.
Yeah. But they were also trying to make time for social activities and travel.
So they were trying to find that balance.
Yeah, but they said it took effort. Like they had to be really disciplined
Mm-hmm.
to make sure they weren't talking about work all the time.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like even when you're on vacation,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to be mindful of that work-life balance.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen automatically.
Exactly. So it seems like, the digital nomad lifestyle, it gives you a lot of freedom, but it also requires a lot of self-discipline.
And manage your time effectively.
Yeah, and to set those boundaries.
Otherwise, you can end up working all the time.
Totally. All right, let's talk about the cultural side of things.
Okay.
What's it like to adapt to life in Chiang Mai? So overall, Chiang Mai is portrayed as being very welcoming. Chiang Mai for digital nomads. This article specifically talks about how kind the people are.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah. And they say that the locals have this reputation for being, like, generous and helpful towards visitors.
That definitely makes a difference.
It does. And then, that story about the YouTube vlogger meeting a new friend.
Yeah.
That also supports this idea of, like, a warm and welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah, it sounds like people are pretty open to connecting.
For sure. And then that same article, It also mentions that there are tons of opportunities for cultural immersion.
Oh, like what?
Well, they talk about the Buddhist temples
Hmm.
and the festivals like Loy Krathong, Ipang, and Songkran.
Those sound cool.
Yeah, they're supposed to be amazing. And then there are also all these classes you can take,
Oh, like what kind of classes?
like Thai language classes,
Right.
Thai massage, Muay Thai, cooking.
Wow, so much to learn.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And they also mention the markets is a great way to experience the local culture and food.
That's always my favorite part of traveling,
Re-
trying new foods.
Exactly. And then Chiang Mai, 7 unexpected reasons, this article. They also talk about the cultural richness of Chiang Mai and how the ancient temples and the night markets make it a really appealing place to stay for a longer time.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to explore.
Totally. So it seems like, English is widely spoken in the tourist areas,
Hmm.
but there are also plenty of opportunities to immerse yourself in Thai culture if you want to.
Yeah, you can kind of choose your own adventure.
Exactly. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about safety.
Always an important topic.
Absolutely. So none of our sources go into a ton of detail about this, but we can kind of infer some things.
Okay.
So the fact that the couple in the YouTube video is just walking around looking for apartments, and that Chiang Mai, for digital nomads, recommends exploring the markets and neighborhoods, and that the YouTube blogger mentions going out alone at night. It all suggests that Chiang Mai is generally considered a safe place.
Yeah, if people are comfortable doing those things.
Exactly. Of course, you should always be cautious.
Yeah, no matter where you are.
But it doesn't seem like safety is a major concern in Chiang Mai.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap things up, it seems like Chiang Mai has a lot to offer digital nomads. It's affordable,